Welcome to another Shaw Consulting podcast. Today we're going to be discussing digital twins in social housing, whether they represent a real revolution or just a rebrand of existing practices. We'll explore the benefits, challenges and future potential of digital twins for social housing providers. As always, I'm joined by Shaw Consulting Director, Chris Shaw. I'm your host, Stuart. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Stuart. Good to be here. Looking forward to this discussion.
So, come on, enlighten me. The term digital twin is relatively new to social housing, but is it a revolutionary concept or just a new label for something social housing providers have perhaps been doing for years? Explain to me, what does it mean? And, how does it differ from existing digital asset management tools?
So, digital twins, it is a relatively new concept. It's probably been around for a couple of years, to be fair, but it's being talked about more now. It allows you to create a virtual representation of a physical object, a system, or a process that is, continuously being updated with real-time data. This allows, a housing organization to do a simulation on the key parts of that component. It can do integration, it can test, it can monitor, and it can help, with that maintenance of that asset throughout the life cycle of the physical counterpart. So, unlike traditional digital asset management tools, which primarily focus on the static data and the documentation, the digital twin is providing you with a more dynamic, real-time insight with predictive analytics of that asset, that component, which, ultimately is helping housing providers to optimize their operations, predict maintenance needs, and overall improve asset performance.
So I guess for our listeners, it's there to develop a sound understanding of what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis and make decisions based on pretty sound information.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's true. Yeah.
So many social housing providers struggle with legacy systems, siloed data, and of course, very, very tight budgets. What are the biggest challenges and barriers to getting started with digital twins, and how can housing organisations make the business case to secure that investment?
There's many. I mean, the three that come to mind are, there's the legacy systems and that siloed data. You need to integrate that information into a digital twin, and that can be challenging, due to that fragmentation of data and the outdated data sources. We know that asset management information is held in the housing system, the asset management system itself. It might be held in a compliance system. It might be held in other third-party systems, and bringing that all together and creating a digital twin, it can be a difficult thing. I guess the other one is, you've potentially got some high upfront costs. The initial investment in IoT devices, sensors, and data integration platforms can be substantial. And then it's that, making sure that it's all secure and we've got some good data privacy in place, ensuring that tenant data is secure and we're complying with the regulations is another key thing that we need to get right. And I guess to make the business case for digital twins, housing organizations can highlight, that some of the long-term benefits, such as reduced maintenance costs, improved energy efficiency, that enhanced safety compliance, really key when we're thinking about, some of the tragic loss of lives from, Grenfell and things like this. That's going to really help to demonstrate real world examples and drive through the ROI to secure the investment.
Okay, so perhaps one of the things that digital twins can do is reduce maintenance costs, improve that energy efficiency, as you said, and enhance safety compliance. Do we actually have any real world examples where social housing providers have actually used this, and how do they compare to other sectors? I don't know, say for instance, construction or aerospace. How do other sectors use these digital twins?
So there are some real world examples of digital twins in social housing. Some have been using it to create a digital twin of the virtual replicas of their properties, and that's enabling them to do some real-time monitoring and predictive maintenance. And we've recently worked with one of the large London councils who have been using drones to 3D scan their tower blocks to create, digital twins of these buildings. And that's been driven out by a lot of the, new fire safety regulations, and knowing really well what your property is, what's in your properties, what are the escape routes, who live in the properties, what are their needs as far as, if we had to evacuate them, do they have a condition that is permanent, is temporary? So these digital twins, there are some real life examples in housing where it is driving both better asset management, but also protecting the residents. I think the other thing is, in comparison to maybe some of the industries like aerospace and construction, who have been early adopters of digital twins. For example, Rolls-Royce uses a digital twin for their aircraft engines to predict maintenance needs and optimize performance under extreme conditions. While scale and complexity, we might be saying it differs a bit, the underlying principles and benefits are very similar across any industry. If we can model and understand through a digital twin what's happening, we can be better equipped to deal with that real life environment.
Absolutely fascinating, that, Chris. So just looking beyond those operational efficiencies, how can digital twins be used to improve tenant engagement, personalized services, create better living conditions for residents? Can these twins help predict issues like damp or energy inefficiency before they become major problems?
I think they can significantly enhance tenant engagement. You can use it to personalize services because you're basing it on real-time data and insights. We can use it to deliver smart home solutions by integrating it with the digital twins to potentially control lighting, temperature, greater security. Then that could all be controlled through smartphones, as we might well do ourselves for our own homes.
Yeah.
Damp and mold, big area of concern across the sector, and many organisations have gone down the route of putting sensor devices in to understand humidity levels within a building and give them that information. But again, we can use these digital twins to help us understand and model what's happening in a building and be more proactive in the approach that we take to address these issues before they escalate, which ultimately is going to improve the living conditions for residents.
Quite right there, Chris. So as this technology evolves, how do you see it shaping the future of social housing? Could we reach a point where every home has a live digital counterpart? And, what role will AI and the Internet of Things play in making this a reality?
I think as it evolves, I think it's likely to become a standard practice in social housing. The integration of AI and IoT is going to play a crucial role in the transformation. As we know, AI can analyze vast amount of data. It can do it instantly. It can give you some actionable insights. It can give you that predictive analytics. So you can look at data over a period of time and say whether, something's degraded in performance, something's getting worse. And all of that is feeding into that digital twin. It is the future. I can't see where it wouldn't benefit a housing provider in the future. It's going to enable them to manage their properties more efficiently. It's going to improve the tenant experience, and it's going to create these sustainable environments. Organizations, housing providers who are building new properties now, it should be something that they're putting into their property from day one. It should be a connected property. It should have sensors in there because it's going to help them to manage those new builds more efficiently, more effectively. And when it comes to then looking at the older properties and retrofitting them, again, I think it's something that they need to be doing because it will reduce over time their operational costs. It's a big investment up front, don't get me wrong, but it's going to save them money in the long term.
So a combination of AI, the Internet of Things, and digital twins will truly revolutionize the way social housing is managed and maintained.
Yeah, no, that's it, Stuart, definitely. Yeah.
Right. You weren't expecting this question, Chris. Just a bonus one. Could they twin us? Or is the world prepared for that?
Well, they can twin you in a certain way. Stuart, you and I were talking recently about how you can now upload your own voice into an AI agent, and within whatever confines you tell it to operate within, it can act on your behalf. So I was only reading the other day that a guy had uploaded his voice into an AI agent, and then it was making calls out to people and interacting with people. And some of them weren't even knowing that it was an AI agent. It's only going to get better. It's not going to replace us in full. I think it's just going to enable us to augment what we do and, potentially have more time for doing those value adds and not doing the mundane.
Okay, Chris, I'm not sure I'm convinced about twinning either you or me for the time being. So anyway, thank you very much, Chris, for another insightful podcast. It's certainly a fascinating area. I think I'd like to revisit that in the future. So if our listeners would like to find out more, please visit the Shaw Consulting website or get in touch with Chris on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time for another Shaw podcast. Thank you.